Welcome to the Wisdom of Jacob's Ladder. I'm your host, Jacob Cooper, best-selling author of Life After Breath and the Wisdom of Jacob's Ladder. For those of you who are new to my channel, please consider hitting that subscribe button so you can stay up to date to weekly podcasts and interviews coming your way with fascinating guests giving terrific information and insights for everyday life. For those of you who have been to my channel before, thank you for coming back on. We're up for a wonderful conversation. Today's guest on the Wisdom Jacob's Ladder podcast is Pam Oslie. Pam is an intuitive. She is also a medium, and she has an incredible gift to really read aura colors. And she's going to be talking about all things intuition, insight, as well as giving us some awareness into our own aura colors, all our aura colors in general, and how that could help us navigate our lives to greater heights. So without further ado, we bring on Pam Oslie on the Wisdom Jacob's Ladder. Pam Oslie, thank you so much for being here as my honored guest on the Wisdom Jacob's Ladder. It's a pleasure to have you on my channel. How have you been?
Really well. Thank you, Jacob. And thank you so much for your kind invitation to be on your show and chat with you. I think it's awesome. We're going to have fun.
I'm certain you hear this all the time, but I really grew up with a lot of your videos on YouTube that talk about the auras, and I know plenty of my other audience members tuning in, certainly have probably come across your videos, so I'm sure you hear that all the time. But for those viewers who may not be familiar with your line of work and what you've been doing for quite some time, I believe since the 80s you've been, in this game. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself, what you do, and what some of your passions are, even today, after all these years in your work?
My passion has always been exploring who we really are and consciousness and spirituality. And then I got into quantum physics. So basically what I describe, I do. So that's been my whole life. I want to push the boundaries. I don't like being in the box. I like going outside and seeing what's really going on. And honestly, what we're capable of doing, that excites me. I'm still passionate about that. So basically what I do, I call it in general, Jacob, expanded consciousness. I found out in 1984 that I could do psychic stuff. So that's kind of an old word now, but expanded consciousness. I could tune into people. I could see their past, present, future. I can see other lives, past, present, future. They're all happening simultaneously. I can see auras or energy fields. I can do remote viewing. I teach people even all of this stuff, even how to bend spoons, how to affect matter with our consciousness, and this is one of my favorite ones now, is to navigate in and out of different parallel universes, which sounds way more science fiction and exotic than it actually is. We do it all the time. It's like changing a radio station or a TV show, whatever. It's like, so I know how to do that. My goodness, just all of those things. So once you start expanding your consciousness, you find out what you're really capable of doing. So I believe all of us have this ability. Some people are into it. Some people are too afraid to do it. So, it's okay to go to other people who do it, whatever. But to me, Jacob, it makes life more interesting, more expansive, more fun, more filled with love, compassion, and patience. Once you're able to do all these things and you see what I'm going to call the bigger picture of who we really are, that's my passion. It's like, wow. And I like experimenting with when I find out something new, like, what do you mean parallel universes? We can change our life by changing into a different parallel universe. I want to know how to do that. That seems so much easier than having to do years and years of therapy over, dealing with my past or something. Not that there's anything wrong with that. Do you know what I mean? I did a lot of coaching and counseling for people for almost 40 years now. So anyway, that's my passion. That's my excitement. And I like to share it with people, not because I'm trying to change anybody else's belief system. I believe we all came here for a different reason, different life purposes, different plan of what we wanted to do and experience here. And I think it's all valuable. It's all awesome. My goal is to show people that we are greater and we have more freedom and we can create more awesomely so that we don't go through life thinking we're these little biological victims that are at the effect of everything that's going on out there, but that we're actually creating it, not to blame people, to give us more creative power over our lives so that we're not suffering so much. I'm tired of the suffering. I'm tired of the drama and the suffering. So I like to light people up and show there's more hope and more possibilities. That was a
Oh,
mouthful. Huh?
I love it. I mean, it's hard to encapsulate, for about, you said 40 years of work, but what I love about, from what I heard about you, is, you have this zest for constantly expanding yourself and how you can help people. It's not stagnant. You're waking up, I'm sure, each day and trying to find ways to look at the world and reality in a different way. And to me, that keeps us living. I think that's a beautiful thing that you are living by, and I hope many of my viewers could be inspired, by this path that you're setting out. But yes, it is a lot. There is a lot of gears towards your work personally and professionally. And I'd like to include as much as we can within, our time frame here. But my first area that certainly I'm sure a lot of what brings people to you, or what, I was brought to you by, is just the concept of an aura. Fascinating subject material right there. For you, how did you come to this? And for viewers, what exactly, for starters, is an aura, who may not really know a little bit about it?
Okay, cool. Well, briefly, how I got started is I went one night with a friend to go see a shaman or psychic speak. I was like, okay, curious. I'd like to see what it is. I walked into the room and he pulled me out in front of everyone that night and said, you know how to do this too. Get up here. It's like, ow.
Wow.
What? So basically, I got thrown in the water. So how I started was that way, because I'm always looking for the next challenge, the next adventure, the next what else is possible. So he said, "You've been looking for the next layer, and this is it."
Hmm.
How did you know that? Anyway, so I found out, and at that one woman in the room, I looked at her. It's the first time ever, Jacob, I saw the
Hmm.
spirit of a little girl standing next to her. So I knew she was pregnant. She didn't even know she was pregnant. And I knew she was going to have a little girl. So she went to the doctor shortly after, found out she was pregnant. She had a little girl. I knew very specific things about people in the room that I'd never met before. So it was kind of trippy. So I started off by doing, again, I don't know what else to call it besides psychic, clairvoyant, whatever you want to call it. I found that I could connect with people. I could tune into them and know all kinds of things about them. And so I was doing that work for about a year because people found out I could do that, and I got inundated with people wanting readings. And a year later, I met a woman who could see auras. So I brought her to Santa Barbara, which is where I live, and had her do workshops. And I noticed that what she was describing about people and their aura colors matched with what I had been picking up psychically about people. There was
Wow.
common threads with people. So I went, oh, that's a blue aura person. Oh, that's a yellow aura person. That's a violet. That's a green. Okay, I get it. So within a year, I was also working with the aura. I was tuning into people psychically, but then within a year, I allowed myself to start seeing and sensing the aura. So then I discovered over the years of doing this psychically that there was a whole lot more about those aura color personalities than she ever mentioned. Well, wait, you didn't tell me violets are like this, but look at every time I see a violet, they've got these common traits. So the reason I like to talk about aura colors is, so first of all, what an aura is an energy field that radiates off of you. I mean, according to physicists, we are made of energy. It's like, and so of course it makes sense that we're radiating energy. So what I see, because I know that I've run into people that see the same colors that I do, especially I'm seeing a lot of children that can see auras, and then a lot
Wow.
of they're told not to, but they see the same aura colors that I do. Other people, a lot of healers, see the aura differently. They see different colors. It doesn't make somebody right or somebody wrong. It just means we're having a different explanation or experience of the aura, just like we taste food differently. There are people that like Brussels sprouts, and I know they're not tasting what I'm tasting. Um, so I see the aura, I see lots of different bands of colors out from people, and the one or two colors of bands that are closest to the body are what I call your life colors. Those are the colors that reveal who you are in this lifetime, what you've chosen to do, your personality type, careers you're going to be drawn to, relationship styles and compatibilities, potential health issues, how you perceive and deal with money, children, family members, where you even want to live.
Mm.
It's all revealed in those two bands of colors. Now, the
Wow.
outer bands in the aura, because most people have about 6 feet of aura colors out from them. Some
Wow.
people suppress them and they keep their aura really tight to their bodies. And some people, like violets usually have huge auras because they're here to affect the masses. So they've
Hmm.
got big energy fields, big auras. But typically it's about 6 feet. And the outer bands in the aura, those are what I see changing all the time, depending on what's going on with the person at the time. So, for example, if somebody gets really angry, I see red flaring up in their aura. But
Mm.
then, if when they stop being angry, the red dissolves. That's different than a red life color, which is
Mm.
reveals a person's personality. And I explain to people that even if people can't see the aura yet, or and some people never will, doesn't matter, we all feel it. That's why
Mm.
you can be around somebody for the first time and instantly like them or feel drawn to them, and it's okay to stand close to them. Other people, you don't even want to be in the room with. There's some energy that they're putting out that is
Mm.
not compatible with you. You're
Wow.
feeling their energy field, you're feeling their aura. So, and I believe everybody can do that. And so I see the benefit in knowing some of these aura colors, your own aura colors. And by the way, I do have my website. I do have a free aura color quiz. So you can go there and answer the quiz and discover what your two main aura colors are. And then there's free videos and there's free written stuff. And then I've got whole courses if people really want to get into what their
Hmm.
aura is about. But this is to help people, first of all, validate who they are.
Mm.
Because most people, when they finally understand what their aura colors are, they go, okay, I felt like that my whole life. I felt like that when I was young, but I thought I was crazy or I thought I shouldn't be that way. So I suppressed it. So it
Hmm.
helps people understand and validate who they really are. Because a lot of people have gotten lost. They don't know what they want to do. They don't know who they really are. They don't know what's going to make them happy or fulfilled. And once they get to see their aura colors, it like, yeah. So it frees people up, validates, inspires, empowers. It just helps people have permission to be who they really are. And it should resonate. It should make people go, yeah, that feels right. I feel that way my whole life, deep down inside, not what they've learned how to be or
Mm.
suppressed who they think they're supposed to be. It also helps us understand each other. It helps with relationships. Instead of running around going, why can't you be more like me? Why can't you think more like me? You go, oh, you're an orange. I know it. I know what that is. I know what your life purpose is, what your priorities are, how your language. I get it. Or you're a tan. Okay, I understand now what's important to tans. So we can have a dialogue. It's almost like respecting that they speak another language. And so
Right.
it
Right.
helps us in relationships, which to me helps bring more peace and harmony and compassion and love and kindness to the planet.
I love it. As a therapist, my quest in working in the mental health field is really to understand that really everything, if you look at it closely enough, has an origin, has an explanation. And I love what you do because it gives people understanding of why they are the way that they are. And it's fascinating. And there's a lot of crossover with this in terms of the mental health field where I mean, I at least believe there's some parts of us that are obviously flexible to change, but then there may be a certain part of us that's just in our temperament. It's just who we are. It's very hard to fix. Is that a little bit kind of like the primary color of the aura, where it's just like this is kind of your temperament, this is who you are, and it's hard to really
Yeah.
shift that, and that's why you're here,
Yeah.
kind of thing.
Yeah, it reveals the way I look at it. I'm going to be very blunt with your audience, okay? Because I've been doing this for a long time and I've been able to tune in. Plus, I'm able to talk to people on the other side. People have crossed over, guides, whatever, beings that have a higher consciousness because they're freer on the other side. It basically, before you came here, you had a plan. You had an idea of what type of personality you wanted to be, what you wanted to do, the theme for your life, who you wanted to meet up with again, how you wanted to interact. And so I believe we left clues behind just in case we got here and forgot why we came, which is so easy to do, especially with information overload, right? On the media,
Right.
in social media, it's like everything's telling us, something different, so we can lose track. So I believe we left clues behind in our aura colors, astrology, numerology, palmistry, iridology. It's just, we've left clues behind just in case we can't get quiet enough to listen to our own soul's guidance or higher guidance. Just in case the noise is too much, we can look at those things. So yeah, and by the way, some of the aura colors that people have, when they have two aura colors, most people do. Once in a while, I see somebody with one main aura color. Some of those aura colors can be opposite types of personalities. Like you're a violet yellow who added some tan. Now you've got some indigo showing up. Violets and yellows can be very compatible, but not always. And I'll give you an example of that if you want. But some of the colors don't always get along. So then there can be inner conflict inside the person. Once they find out what the priorities are for each color and they honor those priorities and what makes them happy, then they can accomplish what they came here to do. People chose the two colors either to work out that conflict or as an additional power booster onto who they are, or an additional flavor, because just being one thing, they were afraid, well, I'll give you, do you mind me using you as an example?
Whatever floats your boat, my friend. Yeah.
Good. Well, just so people know, I see 14 different aura colors, and they each have
Wow.
a different personality type to them.
Wow.
I categorize them into 3 different families. There are the physical colors, and those are red, orange, yellow, and magenta. And those are the colors that get what's real predominantly through their bodies, through touch, predominantly. They process life that way. Okay. And I'll come back to your yellow in a minute. Then there are the mental colors, which somebody told you were supposed to be. So you got a little touch of that in your outer bands, but you're not a tan, you're a violet yellow.
Wow.
So I'll come back to the tan and tell you what somebody told you were supposed to be. Okay. And I've seen that a lot, that people think they're supposed to do something. And then when they're not living their true colors, they always feel unhappy or unfulfilled, or that something's missing, or they struggle against that other color. And then there are the spiritual emotional colors. And those are the colors. Oh, sorry. The mental colors are 4 different types of tans: logical tan, environmental tan, abstract tan, and sensitive tans. They're similar with some slight differences. And then greens. Those are the people that process mostly logic, data, intellect, security, just logic.
Yes.
Predominantly. Now, we all have all of these, but it's predominantly where we go. And then the spiritual emotional colors are blue, violet, indigo, crystal, and lavender. And those are the colors that process more either from their intuition, their inner vision, their emotions, more of a empathic or sensitivity.
Right.
Those colors. So the fact that you've got violet, which is in the spiritual emotional color, and yellow, which is in the physical, and then you've added some tan, which is in the mental, is very interesting. But just to show you how violet and yellow, for example, can get along, or where there can be problems. And I'm going to be real blunt with you. You see how fast I'm talking?
I'm from New York. We're used to that here.
Well, Jacob, also violet process very quickly.
So we have that added on to the
So we end up talking really fast if I'm working with violet. So I'm going to show you the difference. So you've added some tan. You're not a tan. Somebody told you were supposed to be a tan. That is not fulfilling for you. You do a few of the qualities, but only a little bit. You're more violet, yellow, and you've got a little bit of indigo. Anyway, tans are very practical, logical, get a job, get a paycheck, be responsible, make a living, be responsible, figure out the details, because tans are very detail-oriented, factual. I see them being engineers, bookkeepers, computer programmers. They handle the details.
Right,
Right.
right, right.
So you've learned how to do that, but it's not your thing. Okay.
It's not my MO, as
No,
they say.
it's
Yeah,
not your real personality.
yeah.
With TANs, it's all about security and stability and same, right? So they'll work for a same company their whole lives, and violets and yellows don't do that. Okay. So TANs, they'll do 1 to 10, 1 to 10, 1 to 10, pretty much their whole lives, very logical, security, responsible, practical, grounded. Okay. Violets are the visionaries on the planet. They come from the third eye. Violets do this. 150. I get this sense there's something bigger. I need to make a difference here.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, yeah.
Employees. Violets are typically, I see violets either getting into the arts or the media. So I see them being writers, performers, musicians, actors, something creative that reaches the masses, radio personalities. It's just
Oh,
something where they can affect the masses, because violets came here to help save the planet, to shift the consciousness of the planet, and violets want to educate, empower, and inspire. They want to help people live their potential. So violets, I see they're getting into the arts or the media, because that's how they can reach the masses. Or I see them getting into teaching, psychology, or ministry, so that they can help people, because violets can actually read people. They have a sense of what's going on with somebody. They can sense it just intuitively. Or I see violets. Now, yellows don't usually like the next thing I'm going to say to you. And I don't see tans getting into this either. Violets can also get into politics or law, something to make the world better here. I'm just. But I also see them getting into causes. Violets ultimately, and tans don't like this, sweetie. Violets are ultimately either spiritual teachers and leaders, or they're global humanitarians, or both. Violets need to reach the masses. They need to make a difference here. And they've known that ever since they were little. Okay. The problem with the challenge for violets is violets get accused of being unrealistic dreamers.
Idealist and all that.
Violets go 150, and people go, how are you going to do that? How are you going to make a living doing that? That's not practical. That's not responsible. You need to make a living. You need to get a job. And violets like projects. Wow. They like freedom. What's really important to violets is freedom and making a difference and doing what their soul came here to do. And if they don't, that's in power. Violets are charismatic. They're compassionate. They're visionary. Again, they want to inspire, educate, empower. They want to improve the quality of life for people. When violets are out of power, I use that instead of positive and negative. Violets out of power either get really scattered and they're all over the place. There's like 20 things they want to do, or they don't know which way to go next. Right? It's like,
right.
Listen to this. And if they get too scattered, they don't accomplish as much, right? Or, and you don't do this one, by the way, violets out of power can also get impatient, frustrated, holier than thou, feel like they're above everybody else. They can get very frustrated. Now, you do this a tiny bit. You've outgrown most of this.
I hope.
You're concerned, but you're not like this. Violets can get very frustrated with humanity because they don't understand why humanity doesn't see what they see. Or even if you're working with a client and you give them advice on what to do and they don't do it, violets are like, did you do what we said? They help you. And if someone goes, no, they go, well, come on. So violets get frustrated when people can't see what they can see. It's like, because violets think it's common sense. Okay. But you get into the scattered one. You get into the so many things I want to do, except for when you focus most of the time. But you understand, right? So what violets need to do, because each one of the aura colors has a different methodology of getting in power, getting back into harmony and balance. Number one for violets is meditation. They have to have quiet time. I don't mean you have to sit in a corner and om, because yellows sometimes have a hard time sitting still. Violets have to have quiet time so they can get their vision connected with their heart and soul, and higher leading, higher connection. Then they know, this is what I'm here to do. This is my next thing. This is where I need to go. So violets need to have quiet time and alone time. Violets benefit from traveling, okay, because they see the bigger picture. They see the bigger world that they're here to make a difference on. It gets them out of the box. Violets need to really pay attention to what music they listen to because they're very affected by music.
Oh,
So
yes, yes.
it either needs to be calming and centering music or empowering music. If you violets listen to negative, it's like it can disturb you. Okay.
I stick with Carole King, James Taylor, and my friend Stephen Halpern's meditation music. That's my thing. Yeah.
That's funny. I met Stephen. Yeah. So do you understand either empowering or calming, centering meditation type of stuff?
Absolutely.
Now, so those are, and then violets like to find mentors and teachers. They want information from people that they feel like maybe know more than they do. Unfortunately, and so that works for a while, but then you violets tend to outgrow your teachers because you're supposed to become the teachers and mentors yourself. You heard me say the word teacher, right? You
Yes.
violets a lot of times will teach workshops or seminars or groups, right?
Yeah.
Understand that's a violet, and I'm giving you just a basic understanding of what I know about violets. And by the way, violets are communicators. They need to speak up, and if they don't, if they feel suppressed, even if it's through their art or music or writing, they end up with thyroid or throat problems.
Wow. Fascinating. Yeah.
The other problem that violets can have is eyesight because they're visionaries, and if they feel like they aren't supposed to see that far, they'll start messing with their eyesight. So now yellows, and you've controlled your yellow a little bit, which is interesting. Yellows yellows are actually very sweet, very kind, but they're nature oriented. Like they like dogs, they connect with nature. They're basically big kids at heart. Yellows feel like they haven't grown up yet, okay? Because yellows are the perennial Peter Pans. They're kind, they're generous, they're giving. Yellows came here to bring joy to the planet or to help it heal, okay, to help others heal. So I see them getting into either the creative fields, or writers, artists, designers, musicians, or I see them getting into the healing fields. They're energy workers, veterinarians, doctors, massage therapists, they're healers. Or I see them getting into the physical fields like sports. They're athletes, or they build, houses, or, they work with nature. They're much more physical. So yellows, when they're in power, are full of optimism and kindness and fun and playfulness. And yellows usually have a great sense of humor because their whole thing is to bring joy to the planet or to help people, help others or nature or animals heal. And by the way, yellows, if they had their way, wouldn't be working at all. Yellows like freedom. They want to do this and this and this and spontaneous. I want to do what I want to do in the meantime, which tans don't like. Tans are like, be responsible, go to work and make some money.
Right.
Yellows don't care about money. Yellows want freedom and to either bring joy or healing, right? So when yellows are in power, they're healthy. Matter of fact, yellows are the healthiest, most long-living people on the planet as long as they stay in power. George Burns, you're too young to know who these people are. George Burns had a lot of yellow. Bob Hope had a lot of yellow.
Bob Hope, yeah.
Yeah, and Betty White had a lot of yellow, that sense of humor in there. Now, when yellows are out of power, they procrastinate. They are unmotivated. They lose their zest, especially people yell at yellows a lot. Yellows are the number one color. This is good since you're a therapist. Yellows are the number one color to get diagnosed as with ADD or ADHD. They fidget. They can't sit still. So your tan and violet have controlled you more. But yellows are like, I want to do some of this and some of this and some of this.
I was diagnosed like most kids, in the 90s. That was the big thing, was ADHD, ADD. Now it's autism, like because of a lot of changes with the DSM and stuff like that. But ADHD was like, what kid wasn't diagnosed? But yes, definitely was diagnosed with it. Was heavily medicated. So this is all spot on.
That's a yellow thing. That's a yellow thing. The autistic now, that's indigo. The indigos that are coming in, there are so many of them being diagnosed with autism, and they're actually indigos. So I'll touch on if you want to. But yellows are big kids at heart. They're playful. They're pleasers. But also, and again, you have more of the pleaser in there, but yellows are also stubborn. They don't like being told what to do. Okay. It's like, hey, don't tell me to go clean that up. I would have done it. Don't tell me to do it. I have to have free will and choice to do it. Anyway, the other thing that yellows have to watch out for is they are the number one most addictive personality on the planet. Okay.
Wow.
And they're not happy. And by the way, one of the worst things you do to a yellow is put them on medication. What yellows need to do is go out in nature and go walk or run the track or go hang out with the dog. That's
Yep.
what helps the yellow focus. Yellows they're just all over the place. And that's why it's tricky for a yellow violet to meditate unless there's movement. So if yellows go out in nature, that's a form of meditation for them. If they exercise, that's a form of meditation for them. Hanging out with animals, especially dogs. Yellows usually love dogs. Okay, violets usually love global animals, any animal.
Animal causes maybe, or pet rescue places or stuff like
There you
that.
go. There you go. So when yellows procrastinate, they get lazy, they get flaky, they're not good with money, they don't care about money, they can get into addiction. So yellows have to watch out for drugs, alcohol, cigarettes, caffeine, chocolate or sweets, overeating, sex, and video games. It's just like they're very addictive. And yellows do that. Well, first of all, yellows want to have fun. However, when yellows are being addictive with it, it's they're avoiding. There's something that doesn't feel right with them. They're not happy, but they don't know how to fix it. So they avoid. Yellows don't even like if somebody's mad at them. They don't even want to answer the phone to talk to them. It's like, I don't want to see that person. I don't want to talk to them because yellows don't like conflict. So
Wow.
what yellows need to do to get into power, number one, exercise. They need to release that energy. They need to connect with and hanging out in
Yeah.
nature, staying away from addictions, which is really hard to tell a yellow not to do that because they're afraid then they have to face their issues. And a sense of humor. If a yellow can keep a sense of humor, they can survive anything. They'll just have to keep laughing and keeping it in perspective. So you see if you got a violet yellow, when the violet goes, 150, I have these big projects to do. I need to make a difference. I have to go big, which, by the way, a lot of violets go, God, that sounds so arrogant. I don't want people to think I'm an arrogant know-it-all.
Mm.
Go, no, you violets, it's not an arrogance. So if you're out of power, it's arrogant. If you're in power, it's like, no, you have a big mission here. You came here to make a difference. And the first thing a yellow will say if they're out of power is that going to be a lot of hard work? And we work hard, and what if people don't like me? And what if I fail and then people won't like me and I'll be a failure and people will laugh at me instead of with me? So they get scared, they get insecure. And then it doesn't accomplish anything. And then the violet gets frustrated. It's like, well, if you're not going to do it, what? Come on. Violets want money for freedom so they can do their mission here. It's about freedom. And yellows don't care about money. So there can be frustration. So to get them to work out, first of all, meditation time. So they both need to be happy. So meditation, balance in nature, right? Having their mission accomplished. For the yellow to do it, it has to be fun. Or they have to know it's going to heal people, right?
Wow.
Or animals or nature. Then they can align. But violet can be so focused on their projects and their mission here that the yellow then doesn't have any fun. The yellow doesn't get to go play. And then the
Wow.
first way you wake up a yellow's wake up calls, always their body, always their health. That's how you wake up a yellow, right?
Fascinating. Yeah, I felt like someone, well, Pam actually just took an X-ray machine on myself and saw through me, and it was so empowering. Why I say that is, in working in the mental health field and something that I'm certainly trying to change is the emphasis is the power of belief systems in our behaviors.
Mhm.
And many times we're given a certain set of belief systems that we have anxiety, we're ADHD, we're depressed, all these things could be very pathologized and it could be very paralyzing. And what you do and what you just did is allowing ourselves to maybe look at things, the same exact thing through such a different prism. And you're able to kind of understand it, but be empowered to really work through it and to find the higher pathway to navigate your life, to reach a higher self. So I'm sure I felt the taste of what some of the people throughout 40 years of coming to you have been feeling, which is like, wow, this is a way that I am, and this is a way to like further enhance it. And I'm not broken. I'm not pathologized. I am a spiritual being, and that's who I am. It's
Yeah.
fascinating what you do, and what you just did for me in this short time.
That's why it's really important for people to understand, especially if you're a teacher, a therapist, a counselor, a coach. It's like a health practitioner. It's really helpful to understand somebody's aura colors, because violets are the number one color that gets depressed if they've been told that what they're here to do and who they are is not valid, and they can't accomplish something that big, and they can't. So then they get depressed because they're not living their purpose here. Yellows are the addicts. With a blue, you can't tell a blue to go out and exercise, and she's going to feel better because blues don't like to exercise. Blues are,
Fascinating.
yeah,
Wow.
so they all have their own fixes, and some of the colors like crystals and lavenders are introverts and tans. You don't tell them to go out and, violets are the public speakers. So if people, one of the beliefs that people have been raised with is who you are is not okay. And so then people lose themselves. But there's a different solution for each one of the aura colors that's helpful. So understanding that, even if you're married to one or you've got those children, and by the way, indigos are basically the new age children that have shown up. They're very androgynous.
Right.
Michael Jackson was indigo with violet. Indigos they're very psychic. They're very sensitive. That when you talk to them, it's almost like they're from a different planet. All the LGBT stuff that's coming now, that's up now, that's all indigo, and we're in an indigo age now. We were in the violet age, the 60s, the Beatles, the peace movement, the hippies. That was all violet, especially violet yellow. You have the same aura colors as the Beatles and Spielberg and George Lucas and George Clooney. They're all violet yellows.
George Lucas, I talk about him all the time because he had a near-death experience like myself, where I believe he was like 19 years old. He was in a motor vehicle accident, and that's where his term, I believe, the Force originated from.
Yeah.
So fascinating.
Yeah, that's what the violets to get them on their path. If the yellows, remember I told you, you mess with their body or their health, whatever. Violets, it's more of a spiritual wake-up call.
Wow.
So anyway, each one of them has a different way of going, but the indigos are, I saw the indigo age shifting somewhere between 2000 and 2014. I was warning people about that for decades, not warning, informing them. But the
Right. Yeah.
indigos are very androgynous, and it's about loving soul to soul. They don't care if you're black, white, gay, straight, them, he, she. It's like violets are here to change the planet for the better, to make it with harmony and unity here. Indigos are demonstrating how to live that, how to live as a soul on this planet with unconditional love for whoever. It doesn't matter what physical form they showed up in, but they're highly sensitive. Most of them are very psychic, and a lot of them remember their other lives.
Wow.
Yeah.
Fascinating.
Yeah.
Now, Pam, I work very closely with, I'm sure, and a lot of parents may be tuning into this particular dialogue, and something certainly that I work closely in the mental health field. But I'm wondering, for a parent out there who may have, you know, from listening to this dialogue, it may seem like kids in certain type of aura colors may have a cumulative advantage or disadvantage given their color with the structure. And so for parents, have you worked with parents before and how to really understand your kid, if they may be different and why they may be struggling, particularly if you're a violet and you're asked to be like in this box in a classroom? Like, for me, at least, that was torture. But for a tan, that might be just their wheelhouse and they excel. So with kids kind of facing the same thing and the way out is kind of through what they're going through in school, like how could parents better understand their kid and work with a kid who may be biologically 5 or 6, but maybe they act like they're 100 years old?
Yeah. Again, understanding their aura colors. Violets are basically the old souls. Okay. Indigos are what I just described. There's a lot of introverts, but I have worked with parents a lot over the years. And for them to understand the aura colors of their children, really, I mean, lavenders are fantasy children. They're fantasy people. It's all about fairies and angels and other worlds, and they daydream a lot, and they don't connect with this world because it's too hard here. So a lot of parents are concerned, it's like, oh, my child is so fantasy oriented. I can't get him to get down to earth, and I'm trying to teach him math and stuff. And I go, no, you have a lavender. You communicate to the lavender to bring the best out of them. Lavenders are here to go into other dimensions for us and bring that information back. And they usually are very creative. So They write stories like Alice in Wonderland. They are or Chronicles of Narnia, or they do artwork that's very fantasy oriented. And so if you can validate who this soul wanted to be in this lifetime, you're going to have a happy, fulfilled child that is going to be different than the other children out there. And it's okay. You don't want to try and squeeze them into a box. That's why so many kids are leaving the planet. Nicest way I can say that. It's like, wow, they're not seeing who I am. I don't fit in here. And some of them might be indigo, some of them are violets. It's just like, So it's very helpful for parents, teachers, healthcare workers to understand the different personality types so they can help that soul flourish here.
To catch it early too, before just the years add up and it gets, who they are gets buried under all this stuff. Yeah, I mean, I think that's a very pivotal time of intervention. So I love that you have done that and do that. I fully support this. Now, I mean, is there such thing as like a healthy aura color? Because sometimes I hear people throwing that around, and obviously I know there's subjectivity to each aura color, but is there a general way for us to maybe, if so, if there is such a thing as a healthy aura color to kind of expand this and
It's not that
ride the highway? Yeah,
it's not that the color's healthy. All the colors are good. There's no bad colors.
I see.
Whereas positive sides and negative sides are in power and out of power with every one of the aura colors. So I can tell if somebody's healthy or not because it depends on how vibrant their aura is. If it's vibrant and expansive and fully alive, the person's healthy. If the aura starts fading, I know there's something wrong. There is also, I didn't touch on this, what I see as a red overlay. That is not a life color. It's not something somebody is born with unless there was trauma in uterus.
Okay.
The red overlay is something that somebody puts on in childhood, usually, although I've seen some adults do it, for protection if they felt physically, mentally, or emotionally abandoned, rejected, or abused. Steve Jobs was a yellow violet with a red overlay. John Lennon, yellow and violet with a red overlay. It's put on for protection, but it's not a good thing to carry around because it either turns into intense anger or self-sabotage. So I've got a book out, Life Colors. I talk about the kids in there. I talk about every subject with every one of the aura colors, including the red overlay. That needs to come off. And some of the ways it won't come off unless the person feels safe. So therapy is a good way to get it off, rewriting their past in their imagination. There's ways to get it off, but ultimately that soul needs to feel safe here. And once they do, then the red can disappear. Some people use that red for power, use that strength, that power, that protection, because it's a denser vibration. It's a denser color. It's more grounded, it's more physical. That's different than a red life color. Red life colors are also physical and powerful and strong, but that's okay to have. Like Madonna, Sean Penn, Lady Gaga, Marilyn Monroe, their red life color. That's different than a red overlay that's put on for protection. Anyway, once you understand those, so that's not a healthy color, unhealthy thing to have in your aura. You want to disappear that. You see what happened to John Lennon and Steve Jobs.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, you listen to some of John Lennon's songs, you could tell the contentious relationship, I believe, with his mother that was there, and yeah, I mean, but universal teachers, reached the masses, and they were incredible historical figures that
Yeah,
changed the world.
yellow, violet, yellow sense of humor, violet passion to make a difference here to reach the masses.
Yeah. I try to shy away from this subject matter, but I know this is brought to my doors a lot. Not something that I try to entertain, but for my viewers, is there such thing as someone, I'm sure you get this a lot, who's born with like a dark aura color, or that's kind of like developed, like what we call in therapy, an antisocial personality, a sociopath, or is that something that you feel, is an unmet need that's played out throughout a life?
Well, I'm going to say this again. There's two reasons for that.
Hmm.
Either one, there was some emotional damage even before birth, like in the uterus, and or as a child, emotional, I don't feel safe, blah, blah, blah. So that can cause that type of personality to emerge or
Mhm.
to develop. The other one is, remember I told you we chose to come here?
Mhm.
We chose to come here. Our souls want to have experiences. And some people come to this planet to have experiences. This is going to sound very strange to people, but sometimes there are certain souls that volunteer to take on the angst of the world, to
Mhm.
play out either the anger or the abuse or the fear. They volunteer to take it on to amplify that issue so that people can see it, because they can't always feel it or deal with it or see it in themselves. But when it's in an outside personality, it's like, wow. I mean, it just amplifies some of our own little wounds or some of our own fears or whatever. So there are souls that have volunteered to play out that role. Um, this is going to sound really strange. I have so much that I can share about.
I'm sure this is a big subject matter, but
It's
yeah.
a big one, but there are souls that came here. Well, let's put it this way. We're very adventurous and curious souls, beings. We really are. And so we wanted to have physical experience so we could feel emotions, have duality, eat ice cream, walk on the beach, fly places, hike, fall in love, get angry. We wanted to have all these experiences. It adds to everything. It adds to the all that is. It adds to
Mhm.
consciousness.
Mhm.
So we come in different lifetimes playing different roles, just like we're in a play. It's like,
Mhm.
and so different souls will volunteer. I write about this in my book. I think it's in, I don't remember if it's in Infinite You or The Truth According to John, my two latest books, I believe. Um, that souls come in and go, I want to see what it feels like to be a tyrant, a bad person, or to do damage. I want to see what that feels like. And so souls will go, yeah. I want to play out being a victim, or I want to play out being a hero. I'm going to come in and help that not happen. I'm going to save the world from you, whatever. Okay, let's join in and do that play. Or
Mhm.
someone will go, a group of souls will go, I want to do a Western theme. You guys want to do a Western theme? Yeah, I want to do that. Nah, I'm going to sit this one out. You guys go ahead and do that.
Mhm.
So we volunteered to put on plays. We have volunteered to have different experiences. And I can hear people asking, well, is it something karmic from their past life or something? First, I want to say, yes, it can be related to other lives. And I call them other as opposed to past, present, and future lives,
Right. Right.
because there's no time over there. So everything's happening simultaneously. Your soul is that big that it's having different experiences simultaneously. That's how big our souls are.
Wow.
So we want to have different experiences. And so one soul will go, okay, I'm going to play the bad guy. Oh, okay. I'll come in and play the good guy against the let's play out this movie. Yeah, okay. And then when we go back, we go, oh, God, that was interesting. Oh, did you see what that
Mhm.
was? Wow, that was really interesting. Well, let's do it another time. And I'm going to play out the bad guy this time so I can see what that feels like. And you come rescue me, or you come,
Mhm.
save me from myself. So we play roles
Wow.
for the fun of it, believe it or not. And yes, to learn.
Kind of
To
like a method actor, or yeah, and oftentimes you hear that there's a theater of life and we have our unique roles. And again, I'm sure that is reflective of truth from what I understand, but at the very least, it could be helpful for us to detach emotional potential resentment or anger and just trying to really taking the high road to see something on the surface, that may be quite triggering and difficult to live with or to handle, and to depersonalize, kind of like a Don Miguel Ruiz thing, not taking things personally of the four agreements. So
Mhm.
I love that perspective that you provide. Obviously, we're gonna certainly have you back on my show, and whenever you're around, you just let us know because you cover so much ground. But Pam, is there anything in particular that you would like my audience members to know practically moving forward? And obviously, you know, on an outer layer, there's a lot happening. So, how could all the different spectrums of the rainbows and each, color and stuff like that find ways to take, a higher pathway and just kind of ride this wave that we're facing, as a society?
Okay, good. So first of all, I know that there's a lot of fear and unhappiness and struggle out there right now. And so what I want to say to people is, I'm telling you, you're a very courageous soul. You chose to come here at this time because it was going to be big. And ultimately, there's going to be an amazing outcome. It's going to be very positive. I've been shown a huge shift that we're in
Wow.
right now, a new renaissance that we're coming into, that it's going to just be majorly different. And I've got a whole conversation about the new renaissance that we're in and where we're headed. But I want people to know, one, you chose to come here. And so get the juice out of it, have fun. But I want you to do it in a happy and empowered way. So I have lots of resources. And I'm a blue yellow. Blues are not salespeople. We create things and then share it with people. And so I want people to know that wherever you are in your life right now, one, don't make yourself wrong. If you're not happy about it, you do have free will and there are ways you can change it. So don't give up hope. Don't give up on yourself. You are very courageous and amazing to even come here. So let's see why you came here and let's make the best of it and let's have a positive outcome for it. So that's one. I've also got all kinds of resources on my website, including some courses like I've got the Aura Color courses, so people can learn more about that for themselves as well as their kids and loved ones and relationships. I've also got my Quantum Leap course. My Quantum Leap course is the big one, and they all come with money back guarantees, so there's no risk. Again, I want people to benefit from these. I'm not, I'm not getting rich off of these things. It's value. So in the Quantum Leap course, I'm helping people find it, see who they are, expand their abilities. So I teach people all the things I told you I can do, including talking to people on the other side, being psychic, remote viewing, bending spoons, so you can see that you can heal your own stuff, that you can change the weather, you can have an impact on what you're creating around you.
Hmm.
So they can go to my website and watch the video on the Quantum Leap course and then look at the outline. And not everybody's going to want to do it because they get scared, and that's okay. Maybe later you're going to want to do it. And some people are so ready to go to that next level. That's why they're listening to you. It's like, I want change. I want to see what's going on. And I'm going to tell people, stay out of, you guys, fear is not going to get you there. You can experience fear if you want, go for it. Get in there if you want to and really get the juice out of it. When you're tired of it, when you're bored, or it's not making you happy, there are ways to get out of it. And it's not burying your head in the sand and ignoring what's going on out there. It's shifting your thoughts and your beliefs, what you brought up earlier, shifting your consciousness to help create a new life that's coming, that's emerging right now, because those of us that are souls on this planet right now wanted to be a part of that. We wanted to be part of this new renaissance. Just so you know, we did this before with the fall of the Roman Empire, the Dark Ages, where we had a pandemic, the Black Death. And then what emerged out of that was the Renaissance. And the Renaissance had new science, new art, new literature, new health stuff, a printing press. The world wasn't flat anymore. Newtonian physics showed up then. What's coming is another Renaissance, because it looks like everything's falling apart right now, which it is, because we need a new way of doing things. The new Renaissance is going to be based on quantum physics, which is conscious
Wow.
energy, consciousness
Wow.
energy, and AI and cell phones and satellites. All of that is based on all of that. So what's coming is fascinating. There's no need to go into fear. There's a great reason to get into your empowered soul now and your creativity and who you really are, so you can help add and bring that up.
Wow. So there's a rainbow that's going to happen after some of the storm, and we have to bear in mind no storm lasts forever. It's temporary and they're there, for different reasons. But I love that you're able to really generate the hope past some of the pain that some, viewers may be going through, as well as some tools really to really be mindful and careful as to where you put your energy, and your awareness. Because yes, we can't solve the same problems from the same consciousness that created them. So I love that you were able to really offer a lot of tools for many of my viewers. Well, Pam, it's been a complete honor, having you. Lastly, I know you mentioned you authored several books too, like myself. And where's the best way for people to find some of your books? They're available on Amazon? And is there a
Mhm.
particular book that you feel you'd like to maybe emphasize at the closure of our conversation? Or
I have 5 different books. The best place to go is to my website. They're all
Website,
it's
yes.
Aura Colors, AURA Colors, COLORS, auracolors.com. All the books are there. You can go and see what each one of them are about, to see where you're at in your life, to see which ones you resonate with and which ones you feel like could be interesting or helpful.
Well, she's on Facebook and Instagram as well too, so follow her there. Well, Pam Oslie, an honor to have you. You're welcome back at any given moment in time. And we thank you for really being a luminary on this planet for all these years. And now, in particular, your light is really casting a beautiful light on everything that's going on. So thank you to a really sacred, soul that we're just, to me at least, you're an international treasure. That's the way that I see you. So
Well, thank
thank
you
you.
for playing on this level too, Jacob. I really appreciate you playing and getting the word out there so people can see that there's options. Thank you for what you're doing.
Pam Oslie, check her out. Highly recommend it. She is fantastic. Thank you so much for your generous time.
That was a wonderful conversation with Pam Oslie. Pam is a fascinating guest. She was really able to give over a lot of information about intuition, aura colors, different perspectives to have in this lifetime. So I hope you're able to take a lot of the great deal of information that Pam shared, as well as check out some of her works as well as published books. Pam is a terrific guest, and I'm glad that she came on. So we hope to see you here on the Wisdom Jacob's Ladder next week for my next guest coming up to be continued. Thank you all for tuning in. We'll see you here next week on the Wisdom Jacob's Ladder podcast.